All right, welcome back for another edition of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com where I talk about those cheap books, those books that you find tucked away in your LCS's dollar bins or your flea markets, garage sales, wherever you find your cheap comic books. This is the kind of stuff that I think you should be on the lookout for, just in case. Hopefully you like this content as well as all the other content here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel some more and I can keep doing some more giveaways. And if you want to see this week's Dollar Bin Digging suggestions, just hang on for 1 second after the intro and I'll be right back with this week's books. All right, so for this week, I am back with just some more books related to some, some movie news, some comic news, just some rumors and things like that, all just tied into things that are going on right now in both Marvel and DC at the moment. So we're going to kind of do a little bit of back and forth between the two just for a couple of little news items that kind of sparked my interest, that got me thinking of some books and some cheap books that you might still be able to find out there in those cheap boxes if you go out there hunting. So with that said, let's start off with Marvel, because I know everybody loves Marvel these days. And yeah, the first one's going to be this little item from James Gunn, where there's going to be dozens of new roles are being cast for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Could be seeing a ton of new characters showing up in this third and probably final Guardians movie by James Gunn and the crew. So we'll see who we get showing up there. But one of the rumors that has been going around for a while now, I think she was mentioned in the first Guardians, but we have yet to see her, and that is Lila, if I'm saying her name properly, but the otter, Rocket's love interest. Now, you're not going to find her first appearance in those dollar bins because her first appearance is the same as Rocket's, and that is that Hulk, 271. So that's a very expensive book these days. You're not going to find that in a dollar bin, most likely. Not to say you shouldn't look, but you're just probably not going to find that. But I just wanted to tell you that's her actual first appearance as well as Rocket's. So that's one that's kind of off the table for our purposes here. But not too long after this appearance, we did get that Rocket Raccoon miniseries, and it kind of introduced us to Half-World and gave us a little bit more backstory on a lot of these, characters related to Rocket, including, Lila there. So this Rocket Raccoon miniseries, 4 issues, is one that you might still be able to find tucked away in those boxes. Granted, it's probably going to be a long shot, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't look anyway, because a lot of this stuff, like from the 80s, you can find them sometimes out there at the flea market. Just people have collections. They think it's just full of junk, and they pull out the keys of Secret Wars and things like that they know people buy, and then they just overlook everything else, and you might be able to scoop little minis like this out of there. So these are the kind of things I think you should be paying attention to. So, like I said, it's a 4-issue mini. There's issue 1. Then we can look at here issue 2, take a look at issue 3, and finally issue 4, just to familiarize yourself with those covers in case you see them out there. Again, it's 4-issue limited series, and like I said, you do get introduced to Lila there, along with, again, some of these other characters, these quirky little anthropomorphic, is that the right word? The little animal characters that populate Half-World and Rocket's backstory. So I don't know, like I said, it's a fun little mini. Now for this set, like I said, sometimes these can be a little expensive, so they may not be in those cheap boxes, but you still might be able to find them. So just keep your eyes open. If you look here, $10, $10.50 actually on 5 bids. Recent sales. Oh, this is on eBay, mind you. $10.50 for issue 1, and then the whole set sold for $50. Both of these just here in December, so just a few days ago, these 2 sales occurred. And if you want to see what's out there in the market, if you don't want to go digging in those cheap boxes, well, issue 1 is still about $10, and you can get the mini there for as low as $31. So Again, they're not super duper expensive, so there's a chance you can find them in those cheap back issue bins, those dollar boxes potentially. Like I said, you never know. I know a lot of these got scooped up back when Rocket was first announced in the first Guardians movie, but that was years ago now. These boxes get restocked all the time, and not everybody picks everything out that they should. So you never know. It depends, I guess, on your LCS or wherever you're buying your cheap books. But like I said, these kinds of things are things you might be able to find at those like yard sales, garage sales, flea markets, maybe used bookstores. Again, wherever you find your cheap comics, this is just something that you might be able to find. So that's why I'm throwing this out there to you. Now, another angle to kind of play up on this Lila angle, I guess, is her, like, I don't want to say reintroduction, but she didn't really have a lot of appearances. And when they brought her back in that Annihilator series, they've kind of reworked Rocket's origin quite a bit to kind of retcon it for a more modern take, I guess. So it wasn't all happy-go-lucky, fun little animal world that we might have seen in that mini, but a little bit more of a darker turn, I guess. But in Annihilators issue 3, we see her come back and they reconnect with Rocket. Granted, their lives have changed because Rocket sacrificed his self. Well, he didn't really sacrifice himself, but his memories to basically save everyone there on Half World, which in this case was, I believe, an asylum of sorts. But here they kind of recap things for Rocket, telling him that his memory's not actually complete. These things happened, but he may not remember things the way that they actually did occur. So what they're going to do is they're going to rewire his head so he can get all of his memories, I guess, back of what Half-World actually was. And like I said, it was actually an asylum for the criminally insane, and he was a security officer there. And to save everyone there, to keep everything on lockdown, again, Rocket sacrificed, I guess, his mind and shot himself off into space, which is why he ended up on his own to finally be picked up by the Guardians crew and join them and Groot for their adventures. But that's kind of the short story around this, but it's a pretty good issue. If you want to check it out, issue 3 of the Annihilators is one that you can still find out there for cheap if you want to get that kind of revamped, retconned, storyline, which is something they might actually do more closely with the current Marvel universe. They might not go so much for the silliness, I guess, the silly angle. I mean, maybe they do, but we'll see. But this issue, this is not an expensive book, so you can probably still find this one pretty cheap out there. There are no sold copies for this individual issue 3. There are some lots for some of the mini, the complete mini. I think this is 4 issues as well. But individual issues of 3 have not sold in the last 3 months that I could find. So can't get your price there, but it's not going to be expensive because when you look at what's out there, there's a copy for $5. I mean, this is basically like a cover price or less kind of book, a book that you most likely can find at a dollar bin. So just get out there and get hunting, and you might be able to find this if you're interested in that. So if you want to get that revamped, retconned backstory involving Lila and Rocket, there you go. Now, switching over to DC for our next topic, we are going to hit up Black Adam. Once again. And what we have here is that, Justice Society of America is going to be, facing off against, Black Adam. Now, I had thought about reminding everyone about that Cyclone cover on Justice Society of America #3, because that thing has come down in price quite a bit. Again, we know we're getting that character showing up in the movie. She could be one of those breakout characters that people connect with, being on the younger side of some of the other characters we know are going to be in there, like Dr. Fate and, even Hawkman. But the angle that I'm going to kind of come at this for our next selection of books related to Black Adam is going to be more along the lines of ISIS and Adriana Tomaz. I don't know if I'm saying her name properly or not, but that's a character we also know is going to be showing up in the movie and could play a vital role in the film as well. So we'll have to see how this all shakes out as we get more footage and things like that. Shots from the set, things like that. We'll see exactly how big of a role she might be playing in the movie, but I gotta think it's gonna be at least a minor supporting role, a little bit more significant than just a cameo. But who knows? Now, the character of Adriana Tomaz, again, I don't know if I'm saying her name properly, but she first shows up or I guess she's reintroduced into the DC universe in 52, week 3. That's the first issue of her as herself, basically. And you can see here she's brought in as sort of a prize, a gift to the king, Black Adam, and yeah, but he decides to keep her anyway, even though he kills these guys for offering her as just a prize, but he still keeps her around. Now this issue, it heated up for a little while, but it's one of those books that, again, that just gets forgotten about after years and years of speculation and waiting. Some of these books find their ways back into those dollar bins, so you can probably still find issue week 3 of 52 back in those cheap boxes. Look, one just sold December 3rd for $2.54, so it's not expensive. This is not an expensive book, but it is still her first appearance, or reintroduction, first appearance, I guess. So it's one to keep an eye out for. Copies out there right now, though, are $9 to $30, so a little bit more pricey of what's available. But things, again, like I said, they show up cheap. They pop up every now and again, so just keep an eye out for it. Or, like I said, just go dig in those cheap boxes because they're probably there. And possibly along with issue 12, which is when she becomes Isis, and it, right there on the cover, it's a great cover. I know this was another one that people have been picking up for a while now, but just another one you should be mindful of. It's, again, 52. Apart from the Batwoman issues, this is really it. The other things you want to grab are really the Isis books that I can really think of. I mean, there's maybe the Question, but we haven't seen the Renee Montoya's Question in a while, so I think it's really, this is it. Isis and Batwoman for the most part when you're hitting up those 52 books, and there are tons of 52 issues out there in those cheap boxes. But issue, or I keep saying issue, week 12, which is issue 12, I guess. What does this sell for? It can go for as cheap as $1.25 in November at auction, or $12. So again, prices come down quite a bit, not too expensive. There's probably a lot of them, and yeah, it's been known for a while. And like I said, until we get her on screen, who knows how much people are going to be interested in this. But copies out there, if you want to go shopping, could be anywhere from $10 to $30. So keep that in mind as well. If you do find them in your cheap boxes and you want to try to flip it for something, well, this is what you're going to be facing off against, like $10 to $30, asks. And now, the reason why I kept saying reintroduction is because really the character of Isis kind of first debuted on that TV show, like the Shazam type stuff, way back in like the 70s. And then she first appeared in comics in Shazam's title before getting her own title, which just didn't last because it's just didn't connect. And she had her show with the cartoon thing. But in Shazam number 25, back in the 70s, this is another one. Now, all right, may you find this in a dollar bin? It's possible. I mean, these weird Shazam books are out there. So flipping through, you never know if you might come across an issue 25. And if you do, here you go. You'll get the first Isis in there. I mean, this is one of those weird little books that could be there. Most likely not. This has gotten to be a little bit of a pricey book. But hey, it doesn't hurt to know what this cover looks like, and it doesn't hurt to know what this thing might cost in case you find it in a cheap box, or even if you find it for a few bucks in a back issue bin. It might be at a good price compared to what's out there. What does this sell for? This thing can sell for as little as $1.31 at auction. Look at that. $13, $20. Again, all auctions. So not a ton looking at this right now, but still, it's not too bad. But if you look at the copies that are not auctions, that are out there for sale right now, well, $40 to $50 are what people are asking. Roundabout. There's some more expensive for some higher grade ones. You might find some beat up copies for a little bit less, but that's kind of the range we're talking about here. This is $40, $50 book, apart from those auctions that went for pretty cheap. I mean, $1.31. Somebody snuck that one. But that's the thing. You just got to be aware. Be aware of what you're looking for, and know that there are books that still you can find even cheap online sometimes. But I'm just letting you know. So this is another book to keep your mental Rolodex when you're flipping through boxes, that it might be worth something. So with that, we're going to move back to Marvel for our last little selection of books that are going to be related to the new Doctor Strange. Yes, talked about on the tax show as one of the little news items there, that now we know that Clea Strange is now the new Sorcerer Supreme, and she will be headlining a title of Strange, I guess, for the foreseeable future. Who knows how long this will last, how long this will stay, but I still don't understand why Marvel would kill off a character like Doctor Strange just as he's about to show up in Spider-Man this weekend and getting his own movie sequel coming in a couple of months in Multiverse of Madness. I don't see the logic in killing off his character in the comics to be replaced by somebody that, these moviegoers don't know. I know the moviegoers aren't comic buyers, but still, it's just a weird disconnect for some reason. I just don't understand it. That all said, Clea. Now, just like Lila we are not going to find her first appearance in a dollar bin. I'm just sorry. It's just chances of you finding Strange Tales 126 in a dollar bin are slim to none. So there it is. If you want to know what her first appearance is, but you're not going to find that in the cheap boxes. So we got to look at a different angle to kind of play to find a book that might be worthy of scooping up out of a cheap box related to Clea if you are interested in this kind of thing. And I think something that I found at least a little bit interesting is the reason why she's still going by Strange is because she technically married Doctor Strange. So she is technically Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange's wife. And they, I guess, technically get married in Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, issue 3, from back in, what is this, 80s, 90s, that kind of era. So inside this issue, these two actually sort of wed. I mean, it's not like an official wedding like we get like Superman gets married or like one of those. It's more of like a union of these mystical characters. But as they kind of put it in their little dialogue here, it's what's the difference to them? They are married, they're wed, they've got their rings, and there we go. And she goes off to defend her demon dimension, and then he stays here, Sorcerer Supreme. But is what it is. I mean, she showed up throughout the comics many, many, many times over the years, but this is the issue where they wed. So I feel like it's an interesting little tidbit to go and hunt for cheap. Definitely in those cheap boxes, because you can find this out there for next to nothing. As evidenced by sold copies, $2.64. Look, one sold for November 20th. So definitely a cheap book. Even if you want to go shopping for what's out there right now, look, $3 to $7. This is a very cheap book. So you can probably find this out there in those cheap boxes if you go digging and you find a Doctor Strange run. And granted, it's an early issue, issue 3, but even issue 1 of this series doesn't go for a whole heck of a lot. So just something to be mindful of. And just kind of playing off of this. Now, there's notes that I saw online that she turned down the Sorcerer Supreme moniker when it was handed off to Brother Voodoo in New Avengers 54, but I didn't really see that inside the guts of the book where it was actually, she turned it down. She shows up and they kind of reference things in the story here. And she is one of the options, and they're showing all these different faces, and they're showing all the options of who the next Sorcerer Supreme could be. So she was factored in there, in the who's who of the mystical Marvel universe back then when Brother Voodoo took on the mantle for a time. Along, you can see like Doom and the Hood and things like that. And our current crop had like Magic and the Ghost Rider from the Native American Ghost Rider. I can't think of her name. There was more options that were in the current run, but now it's Clea. But hey, this is still an interesting little book. I know I've talked about this one before when we're looking at the death of Doctor Strange coming up again, but I felt like there's no harm in just mentioning it again. So issue 54 is kind of where Brother Voodoo does accept it, so he does become the next Sorcerer Supreme. But I guess this was the last non-Stephen Strange Sorcerer Supreme we've had. Well, I guess no, Loki had the mantle there for a short time as well. But that being said, still, if you find it in a cheap box, it's still kind of a fun little book to go dig out. So if you find it, sold copies of this one can go from $7.50 to $13. Again, not a super huge find if you do find it, but still a couple of bucks, still a fun little thing. And if you go shopping online for one right now, well, it'll run you $6 to $12. So still not kind of same range as those sale prices. Again, plenty of copies of this out there, but like I said, fun little read too. If you just want to read through this Dormammu story and the changing of the guard, the mantle being handed over to Brother Voodoo, it was kind of a fun read. So that all being said, that's what I got for you this week for Dollar Bin Digging. Hopefully you found those little books interesting, and maybe you can find them out there in your cheap boxes. Again, not everything's going to be like a huge hit, because, I mean, if the book's expensive, then it's obvious that you go and buy it, so you should already know the expensive books. I'm not saying any of these things are even going to become expensive. I just find them interesting from a story standpoint, or just connected to, as I said, things coming up, news, rumors, and things happening in the comics, things we see coming in the movies. Just connecting those dots, things that I find interesting and things that I like pulling out of dollar bins, because I like going hunting and I don't like walking away empty-handed. So sometimes you start grabbing things just because you want to have something to take to make your digging worthwhile, even if it's just a minor little thing. Like, you never know. You never know with some of these books. So with that all being said, hopefully you enjoyed this little step into these cheap books that you might be able to find out there. I appreciate you all stopping by, checking this out. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoy all the other content here on the channel. Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Make sure you check out the article on comicbookinvest.com, along with all the other fun stuff that all the other guys, the other writers are putting out there every day for free. So that's the kind of stuff I'm into. Just free, fun, interesting knowledge to hand off to whoever's interested as related to comics, pop culture, toys, Star Wars, all the things I enjoy talking about. So hopefully you guys like that, and hopefully come check out the live shows on Sundays with Star Wars and Wednesdays with the Tack Show. And yeah, I'm having fun, so hopefully you guys are enjoying this as well, and I will see you guys all soon with some more content.